Welcome to our podcast, Happy Household. We appreciate you listening in. Ben and I started this podcast to share some insights on what we have found successful and maybe what wasn't so successful. Our hope is that we can help each of you in some small way while getting to spend some quality time together. We feel the key to a successful relationship is trust and communication. Whether it be with friends, family, or significant others, open communication builds trust and creates a home that can become a happy household.
Hi, hon.
What's up, sweet pea?
Not much.
Yeah.
Got anything you want to air out to the public or talk about today? Any subjects? If not, then we can potentially talk about the same subject that we had talked about this weekend, which was how to raise kids that have certain needs that don't necessarily line up with the same personality. So I would say different personalities. If not, we could talk about different personalities meshing within a household, because we have 4 kids living in the house that are technically my kids, but we treat them as if they're our kids. And there's 6 different personalities living in a household, and how we work to mesh those together to make a happy household. And sometimes that doesn't always work out, but I know that we were talking this weekend about my oldest is a person who she's very sociable. She likes to be out. She likes to be doing things. She likes to be in the midst of everything going on.
She's an extrovert.
But she's definitely a social butterfly. And we were talking about how different I am than my daughter, because I'm much more of I'm cool just staying at home and chilling and cleaning the house and spending time playing games and things like that. But she is somebody who needs to go outside the house to feel like she has fulfilled that portion. So that can be difficult sometimes to push myself to either allow her to go to certain places that I don't feel are necessarily safe, or allow her to feed that itch and push myself to go with her. Or, a lot of the times she'll ask me, hey, can you go here with me? And I'm just like, oh, I will, because I love you.
Right.
But it wouldn't be my first choice. So really kind of picking and choosing your battles on what you decide to go to and what you don't decide to go to.
I don't think kids quite fully understand the fact that, and I think she is getting to that point where she's starting to not necessarily understand, but she's starting to realize that, now that she's working, and she's like, I don't have any time but to work. I'm like, she goes, and I'm tired and I'm this. And I'm like, welcome to adulthood, right? Now you have a slight snippet of what we deal with all the time. You don't have that full tilt energy that everyone you want us to have. We're putting in 3 times the amount of hours you are. And on top of that, we are also dealing with your energy and the other 3 energies that are also in this household. And I think she's starting to get a little snippet of how that's working out. And I don't think she quite knows how to deal with it yet. And it's perfectly, as far as I'm concerned, it's perfectly normal, because none of us understood how to deal with that when we were that age. I would have to guess that when I was a kid, I wanted to go too. I wasn't necessarily somebody who was extroverted like that, that wanted to go and socialize and had to do all that. Not necessarily, but I did want to go, and I couldn't, because I didn't have the funds to do that.
Yeah, I think she is definitely learning how to balance responsibility and fun and finances. And, she's only 16 years old, so luckily she's definitely a go-getter, and she wants to learn that. So it's nice to see that she's choosing to, talk through that stuff with you and I, and really figure out how to operate and balance all of that so she can still get what she feels she needs, versus what's best for her long term. I think,
Right.
At 16, a lot of kids don't really necessarily get to do that.
The kids don't understand the sacrifice that needs to be made to be able to go out and do those things.
Yeah.
Like, she wants to go out to her friend's house, and she wants to go to the movies, and she wants to go here, and she wants to go there. That's great. I don't think she's understanding, that it's not just something just because, it's fun to go. It's not free.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that she's having a hard time, or she's just now discovering, is that, she said she wants to go here. She wants to go there. Huh? You got money for that? Well, no. Well, you do realize that every time that car starts up, the cash register starts clicking. Right?
Yeah. And I think she's always been really mindful of that. She's always been very sensitive to that, not because she has to be, but because she chooses to be. Because she's very thoughtful in not taking, I'm just going to say myself, for granted, because she understands that I work for a living. I have 4 kids to support. It's not easy.
Right.
And I think she definitely understands that things cost money. But I think she's coming to terms with wanting to be independent, and I want to support that, but also teach her to do it in a responsible way where she doesn't just blow every penny she makes and then she doesn't have anything for her responsibilities.
Right.
Because, I'm trying to teach her that, you need to save, because heaven forbid something happens or you lose your job, or, you have
Your
to make
hours get cut.
Yeah. Or you have to make repairs on the vehicle or whatever. I want her to do that in the safety net where I can help her out if need be, rather than her figuring that out in adulthood. Different parenting styles for everybody, whatever fits your family life. But I think for me, I wanted to make sure that she was able to learn that in a safe environment where she potentially could be very successful when she becomes an adult, and she's willing to learn it, which is, I think, the greatest thing about her is it's frustrating to her, but she also understands she's not frustrated at any one particular. It's just she's coming to terms with that. And she's doing a really good job managing all of that.
Yeah, and I don't think it's necessarily keeping it in a safe place, but more of a manageable space, because I think she still has to see the unsafe part of it. Like, okay, now what do I do? Right?
No, but that's what I mean is she's able to take those risks because she is in a safe place where, the only thing I can speak to is she recently got into a car accident, and it threw her for a loop for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But she didn't stem away and say, well, mom will pay for it. It was mom's car. No, she came up and she's like, I'll pay for it. We'll work out a payment plan. Like she took ownership of it.
She's very responsible when it comes to that stuff.
At 16 years old, that dumbfounded me a little bit, because, she's somebody that
I know my other kids, my kids from my previous marriage would have never done that.
No.
I mean, they're very responsible. They're very go-getter now that they're adults, but at that age, they would have never done that. That they would have, they've been like, oh, okay, whoops, sorry.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's like she's very responsible, so it's hard for me to see her struggle with, well, I can't go do like I want to, while encouraging her to make those mindful decisions that you can do that, but you need to figure out your responsibilities first, quote unquote. So we have a rule in our house that you don't have to work until you're 18. If you want to, great, but we want you to stay a kid as long as you possibly can.
Yes.
Madison chose to go work. So I said, in that case, you're going to be paying your car payment, or not your car payment, I'm sorry, your car insurance payment and your phone bill, so that she can learn how to budget responsibly. And I know a lot of people may not agree with that, but it's what works for us, and we have found it very successful. And I think that's why she is mindful of, this happened. I can go to my mom and say, I messed up. And I can tell her, yeah, you did, but that's okay. Let's figure it out.
Well, we all mess up. There's no sense of hanging the kid out to dry just because they messed up, Yeah. I mean, we all did it as kids. I don't know anybody as an adult that said, you know, I never messed up as a kid and actually never messed up, because all of us have.
Well, we're kids. That's
how you learn.
That's how you learn. But, you know, I think in talking about kind of what our podcast is about is figuring out what we have found is successful. And we really have found that allowing her that freedom to take the responsibility and not shelter her from that stuff has been successful, because when the big issue happened, when the accident happened, she didn't shy away and said, well, mom will take care of it. Now, did I ultimately take care of it? Yes, I did, because she took ownership of it. And I was in a place, luckily, where some parents may not be, that I was able to take care of it and help her out. But it was teaching her that things have consequences, as hard as it is as a mom not to baby my babies.
Right.
You know, it's very, very hard, but I can't express how proud of her I was that she walked up and she said, Mom, I'm going to take ownership of this. This is on me. And I said, it's okay. It happens. What did you learn from it? And she, you know, explained what she learned from it, and she
stepped up to the plate. For sure.
She, at 16, that's what dumbfounds me. 16 in the generation today, it is so unlikely for a lot of them to do that.
Yeah, I work with people that are in their 30s and 40s that will do something just straight out in the open that everyone sees, and then they'll straight out and just deny it.
Yeah. Yeah. And we can talk about it till we're blue in the face, but yeah, we have really found that allowing them the freedom to get a taste of the real world while in the safety of still being a kid has really helped them take ownership of big events that, you know, we ride ATVs and quads and, you know, 4-wheelers, 3-wheelers, all those sort of things. We're big off-roaders. So, you know, there's bound to have little accidents here and there because they're learning how to drive those.
Right.
You know, but the big thing is that, you know, when they do that, they come and they tell us, like, hey, this is what happened. What can I do to help? It's not, hey, this happened. Go ahead and fix it.
Or put it back in the garage and say, I don't know how that got broke.
And I'm not saying that they didn't do that when they were like real little.
Yeah, I mean,
but
at some point in time, they got to learn it.
But yeah, I do think that like I said, we have found that really successful. And, you know, we're starting to see a little bit of the fruit from the seeds that we planted there. And it's quite amazing to see all of the girls, you know, and the younger two are still working on it a little bit, but they're getting there.
They're still a little young yet. So they haven't quite got to that point. I think mentally they have to grow to a certain point before these processes and these choices that we are making actually start to stick.
Yeah, they have to mature enough. Yeah.
And I would love to say that they are, but I don't think they're quite there yet.
No, and that's okay they're 9 and 10.
Right.
About to be 10 and 11.
Right.
So they have a lot of youth left for them to continue to grow and learn in that. But to me, and this is, don't take this as me bragging on my kids, because my kids they do kid stuff too, but I have just been very, very blessed. And I thank the Lord every day that they gave me the kids that he gave me, because they are, you know, and that includes your kids too. I think they all have different personalities. I love all of their different personalities. And it's just amazing to see, you know, hear the stories of, you know, what your kids were like when they were my kids' age, because I wasn't around at that point.
Right.
But also seeing my kids just be decent human beings is probably one of the greatest gifts that a parent can get, is to see that the lessons that you're teaching your children you're bearing fruit to that, and you're seeing
taking
them
root.
Yeah. And it's amazing to see. And, you know, it was a big deal for me that she came and she took ownership of it, and she didn't shy away from it.
To give the listeners a little backdrop, I have 4 kids, 2 from 2 separate marriages before this. So there is a
age gap.
Yeah, there's a pretty good size age gap, but I see what I have done in the past with the first 4, and I've seen the outcome, and it's not always, you know, I got one that still hasn't quite blossomed to her full potential yet, but she is taking strides to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen some of the choices that I made when they were young, and I've seen the way that it should come out. And I think you and I are enough alike that some of those choices that I have made, you and I have talked about,
Mm-hmm.
and you've expressed that sounds like something that you think would work well.
Mm-hmm.
And that also leads to the point of communication, right? Even though technically these 4 are not mine, right? And I will never try to replace.
They have a dad.
They have a dad. I don't
They
ever
have a
want to
dad.
try to replace him. It's not my place, and it's not my intention. But I
You
do
can be a
believe,
father figure without trying to be their dad. They have a dad.
right? And there's an old phrase that says it takes a village to raise a kid,
It does.
and I would like to think that I'm part of that village, not the actual parent, but I am part of that village.
You're parent adjacent.
Yeah.
You're with me, honey. You're parent adjacent.
So I think that with the stuff that I have gone through with the first 4 will help us with the insight of the next 4 to kind of, I've learned, because when I first were young, I was very stiff and very non-flexible in the way that they were taught.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some things that I done for them that actually turned out okay,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't necessarily believe was the right way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So with these 4, I can be a little more flexible because I know that the thing that we're trying to teach can be taught without being super strict about it.
Well, I think that comes back to the point that we started out talking about, that they all have different personalities.
Right.
Each one of them needs to be taught differently because they each are going to process it differently. They're different individuals.
Right.
And to your point, yeah, you have 4 older kids, but in my raising my kids, or the younger 4, we actually call them younger 4 and older 4, but in raising the younger 4, those are the only kids that I have. Those are the only kids
Right.
that I've known how to raise, that I've participated in raising. And, I can even teach you things looking back at the way you handled things when you were
Right.
parenting the older adults that are now on their own and doing their own thing. And
Having their own kids.
yeah. And I can give a little insight on my take on that, because we feed off of each other in that aspect, because we want our kids to feel loved and accepted and safe and at home, to come to us with questions or comments or concerns. And one of the big things that I do is I listen to my kids. I sit down and I talk to my kids and I have conversations and I say, I see how you're feeling, or how does that make you feel? I don't just say this is right, this is wrong, because that may not be true. They may have a point of view that's very important. Now, ultimately, I'm the parent,
Right.
so I have to make that decision. But my girls have always felt heard and valued because, I was raised that way.
Right.
Your parents are supposed to be your protector and your safe space. And I was very,
and your
very
teacher.
yeah. And I was very, very lucky to have a mom who did that. And she did it very well.
Right.
And I feel like I have been able to pass that down to my kids. I make errors just like any other parent. And I'm not, saying grade A mom, but I'm just saying that is what I feel like I have been really successful about, is listening to my kids and not judging them for feeling a certain way. Even if I don't agree, I give my point of view. I listen to their point of view and we come to a common ground.
And that is a superb thing to do. I also believe that when there needs to be, at times, even though they are heard and they're understood and you understand where they were coming from when it happened, they still also have to be aware of
Right and wrong.
Right and wrong. And if it was wrong, even though we understand why they felt that way, but they still need to say, okay, well, that was right or that was wrong. And if it was wrong, there needs to be a punishment or a discipline, not necessarily a punishment, but a discipline that has to go along with that.
We don't usually use the word punishment in our house, but we usually use the word discipline so that they understand that it's not the same thing. Because I feel like a lot of younger generations say, well, you can't do this. That's punishment. You can't do this. That's abuse. No, it's discipline. It's raising my kids to be a good, decent human being so that they can accept and love everybody for who they are, what they are, where they are, without judgment. And,
Right.
if we could take out the judgment in 90, even 80% of half of what the world does, and accept people for who they are, what they are, and love like Jesus loves, this world would be so much different.
Oh, by far. Right.
And that's all I'm trying to teach my kids, is to love like Jesus loves.
Right.
Because it's not you're not the one that needs to judge somebody. It's not your call. It's not your right.
You don't have to walk a day in their shoes. There's no reason to judge how they feel or what they do because you're not in their shoes.
Exactly.
It may not work for you, and that is perfectly okay. And you can
love in disagreement.
right. I was going along the lines of you could still have your opinions, but it doesn't really matter because you have no right to judge what somebody else is thinking or feeling.
Yeah. And that's a lot of the reason why I think I am so adamant about listening to my kids, because I don't ever want them to feel judged based on how they feel. If they don't agree with me, that's fine.
Right.
But I have certain rules in my house that while you live here, you do have to abide by.
Yep.
You may not agree with them, and that's okay.
And we express that completely
luckily,
too.
they all agree, so there's no contention or anything in the house. But trying to get them to listen, open your heart and listen. People will surprise you.
Right.
Don't jump to the conclusion that everybody's bad, everybody's this, everybody's that, because we all have stories. Everybody has stories of trauma, past hurts, pains, scars that people don't see or they hide away or whatever. It's not our job to tell them that what they are doing is right, wrong, and different. Now, am I going to say Holly Goffin murdering somebody is right? No, it's not. You took somebody else's life. That's wrong.
Right.
But I'm talking about the basic human decency and treating someone like a person instead of something to judge.
Right.
I don't want that out of my kids. I want them to be kind. And I
Right.
feel like part of that is teaching them that responsibility that we were talking about at the beginning of the episode, is seeing it for what it is.
Yep.
Taking the responsibility.
Because at the end, I've told them all this several times. At the end of the day, the only one that has to be worried about what has happened to you is you.
Yeah.
Right? There's no reason. You can't control anything else that anybody else does. Do what makes you happy, and run with it. You do need to be able to respect yourself. You do need to respect others.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you get it back from them or not is irrelevant.
Yeah, it is irrelevant if they give it back to you or not, because you should want to be kind to people. You should want to treat them with respect, because, it's the old saying, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And that doesn't mean that you do it in expectation that they're going to do it back to you. No, you do it in expectation that nobody will.
Right.
Because you will then ultimately feel better about yourself, because you did the right thing in your mind.
Right.
Just to add on to my thought process behind that is, I don't clean the house because I expect them to clean up after me. No, I clean the house because I want them to have a home. I want you to have a home. We don't do the laundry because we want them to thank us for every little thing that we do. No, we don't say thank you to the server at the restaurant because we're obligated to. No, that's their job. But we do because, first of all, it is their job to serve us. But it is our job to treat them and thank them for showing up to work and serving us with great service.
And we want them to feel appreciated.
Yeah. And there are times where we haven't had great servers, but we still said thank you because, you know what? We don't know. They could have found out a family passed away. They could have, figured out, learned that was their last day on the job. I don't care.
Right.
To me, I am kind because I want to be kind. I don't expect anything in return.
No, and you would hope that the next person would show you the same kindness, right? that goes along with the same concept as pay it forward, right? So when you do something nice to somebody else, you don't do it with the fact that you think you should have that done back to you, but you hope that that person will in turn do it to somebody else and make somebody else's day even better. Maybe the next person that they talk to found out that, one of their family members died, or they're about ready to get evicted, or trying to figure out how they're going to have enough for the next meal, or something that's stressing them out. And that feeling of being appreciated, even though but
that's what I mean.
makes them feel better.
Yeah, but just to clarify, like, I don't do that in hopes that somebody's going to do it back. That's an expectation.
Yeah.
I have no expectation. Whether you do or you don't, that's your business. I answer for my actions and my actions alone. And so when I say thank you, I don't expect a thank you in return.
No.
It's nice if I get one and I appreciate it, but I want to be very, very clear. I do not do anything with expectations that somebody's going to do something either to me or to somebody else. That's what I mean about the freeing aspect of being kind without expectations. And I think if we had more people that thought in that way, I think this world would be a much, much different place.
Right. And you and I are very close. I think I'm not relaying it quite the way.
Well, I've seen you do it. And I think you feel the same way. You're hoping that somebody like passes that along, but you don't have the expectation that I expect you. If I'm saying thank you to you, I expect you to pass it along. And that's all I'm saying. I think we have the same thought process.
And I'm thinking I don't necessarily expect them to pass it on. Mm-hmm. I would like to think that me showing the kindness to them and how they feel appreciated by it would show them that it's probably a good idea, or it would be appreciated for them to do it to the next person. I don't expect them to, because I can't control what they do. But I do know that if I make them feel good, maybe they will make the next person feel good. And at that point, it will go through and everyone will have a little more respect for everyone else.
And I can understand kind of what you're saying. It's the same thing that I'm saying, just differently. It's everyone hopes that everybody treats everybody with kindness, but the reality is I have no expectation of it, because the world nowadays has proven to us that's not always the case. And that sucks, because, I wish that was the case, but I always often say it, kindness without expectation.
Right.
I mean, just be kind. And I want to make sure that we are
teaching the kids the right way to do it, or the way we feel is the right way to do it.
Yeah. Raising them to know the difference in being robotic about it and being genuine.
Right.
And I think that, again, back to the first part of this podcast, Maddie coming to me the way that she came to me was a little piece of that she understood that this is going to be a hardship for her mom, that mom now has to replace a vehicle, knowing that no matter what happened to that vehicle, my kid is okay, and that's all I care about.
Right.
And she knew coming to me and saying, I messed up, was a safe place.
Right.
Because I have hopefully ingrained in them that I don't lose my cool when they do something bad. I sit them down and I ask them to explain to me, what were your thought processes in that? And I'm not saying I've never lost my temper with my kids. Every parent does, and I've raised my voice and stuff, and it's part of life. But her ability to still come to me or come to us and say, I messed up, and I want to figure out how to figure this out. And I think in some small way, teaching them that they were thinking of the other person in this aspect,
right,
and how that was going to affect them. And in my mind, I was just thinking, my daughter is safe, she's alive. It's a car, I don't care. It's a thing, I can replace it.
For sure.
But in her mind, she was thinking, how is this going to impact my mom and my family? And I don't know. I was very, very proud of her. But hopefully this podcast in some small way has kind of touched each and every one of you's lives. And maybe you have something similar that's going on, or something completely different. We hope that our thoughts and executions on parenting styles helps you in some small way. Because like I said, we're not always successful. No. We fall on our faces all the time.
Yep.
So
I got the nose to prove it.
We call it I used to call it the parent pie face, because we fall on our faces all the time. We come up with like stuff on our faces, and we have to clean it up and we have to readjust. But it's a journey to grow and learn. Even at our ages, we still are growing and learning, and our kids teach us stuff every day. And at the end of the day, we love our kids. We're gonna make the time to rear them up to be good people and teach them to be all that they can be, no matter what the world tells them they can't.
Yep. I think that's a good spot to wrap things up for this time. We hope that you all enjoyed this time with us, and I know that we enjoy it, not only from expressing how we feel and things that we do with the intent of hoping that somebody else can take something out from it, but it's time that you and I spend together, Amy, and I do appreciate that time.
Yeah, I do.
So it definitely makes a double
whammy.
Yeah.
Makes a double whammy, and we love it.
Yep. So please feel free to drop us a line. Facebook, YouTube, with a comment, question, thought that you might want to share. Maybe even, you know what, you want to tell us something that you do that has...
parenting ideas, guys.
Yeah, that has helped you guys.
Yeah, please. Because we're still learning too. Let's come together as parents and get through this season.
Yep. And I don't have no problem. We read something that we think is profound and is ingenious and that works. I don't have no problem of reading it out and sharing it with others. Right?
And we'll definitely shout you out for sure. We appreciate any engagement and any, comments, concerns, encouragement. We definitely want to send a little bit of encouragement and joy you guys' way too. And like we said, we hope this helped out, and we look forward to hearing from all of you. And other than that, we hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Yep. You can also, if you don't have Facebook or YouTube, you can send us an email, happyhouseholdpodcast@gmail.com, and we will see you next time.
That's a wrap.
Yeah.